Hey guys, welcome back to Rooted Homeschool. I am so glad you're here. If you're new here, I'm Christina. I'm a homeschooling mom of 5 kids, ages 1, 2, 5, almost 10, and 13. Today I'm sharing with you our summer reading list. So this is not my personal summer reading list, but this is the summer reading list for us as a family and for my kids independently. Let's get into it. Okay, so first I am going to start with a book that we have been working through for a really long time that we are still not done with, so we will continue on with throughout the summer. We have been loving this book. My kids are so into it. I find it really interesting. It is such a win for a read aloud for your family. It's just super long. So this book is like 500 and something pages. It is The Prophet, the Shepherd, and the Star. This book I got right before Christmas time as a book to go along with the Christmas mini unit that we did from Gather Round Homeschool. I grabbed a bunch of books from the library, but I found that most libraries did not carry the kind of Christmas books that I was looking for. So I had a really hard time finding books that were actually about Christmas. And so this is one of the ones that I ordered because it is the story from the 700 years before Christ's birth all the way up until his birth. So it starts with Isaiah and Isaiah prophesying about the coming Messiah and goes all the way through 700 years. Now, what's really cool and interesting and fun about this book is that it is told through the perspective of animals. So this is the epic order of the 7. Apparently there are many of these, and I think that we'll read more of them because my family really loves them. Everyone really, especially my 9 and 13-year-old boys. And if you can engage them in a read aloud and it is about the Bible, I count that as a win. So again, we got this before Christmas time. We don't read it every day. We are about halfway through, as you can see, and we will continue to read this until we're done. So the interesting thing is that these animals are immortal. So they were with Isaiah, and right now in this story, they just finished up with Daniel in the lion's den. So really, really interesting. I highly recommend this series. This is the only one that we've read so far, but we will be continuing with it throughout the summer. So that is The Prophet, the Shepherd, and the Star. Really, really cool book. The next 2 books that I'm going to share with you are books that I had in mind for units that we were doing in the spring, and we haven't gotten to them. So they will be part of our summer reading list. I'm really excited about both of them. And so I'll tell you like what my thought was for them. Just like The Prophet, the Shepherd, and the Star was to go along with our Christmas mini unit. I had no idea it was 500 and something pages, but it's fine. It's been a blessing. These next 2 books I grabbed for similar reasons. So I've wanted to get into the Little House books, but it's one of those things that I just kept putting off. And then, as you may or may not know, we did the Square Foot Gardening Unit from Campfire Curriculums this spring. And one of the books that I grabbed to go along with that was Farmer Boy. So I planned on us reading this as a read aloud to go along with Square Foot Gardening. We had so many other things going on that we just never got to it. So I was like, you know what? We will put this on our summer reading list. I'm really excited for this for a couple of reasons. One is because I really want to get into the book. 2 is because I just ordered my first subscription box from the Land of Storybooks. So I will get my box at the beginning of July. So it will be the July box. And if you don't know about the Land of Storybooks, it is a subscription box that has a new book each month, and it has crafts that go along with the book and discussion questions and recipes and just fun ways to connect with your family through read alouds and through literature. And what's cool about it is everything that you need for the crafts come in the box. So it's not like here's an idea for a craft, Now you have to go find all of the things. Everything is right there. So I can tell you it will be much more likely for me to do that with my family. So I'm really excited. That is part of our summer reading. That will come in July. Now, when I was shopping on the Land of Storybooks website, I noticed that they have the digital guides to books that they've previously had in their boxes. And I was like, well, that's really interesting. And because I'm so excited and I have a hard time waiting because I just love trying new things, I noticed that they had the digital guide for Farmer Boy. So I did grab the digital guide. I haven't printed it all out yet because we have some time before we get to this book. But I did print the bookmark just so I could show you. This is one of the things that comes in that pack, and it's just really adorable. It is double-sided. I printed it on cardstock. Haven't quite cut it out yet, but I'm really excited to be able to use. There's coloring pages in it. There are crafts, like I said. Unfortunately, with the digital download, you don't get all the things for the crafts, but it's not a big deal. I feel like this will be a great way. So we'll try to do this in June because this will kind of like help us like dip our toes in the Land of Storybooks, and then in July we'll get our full box. So we can kind of use this as a way to get them excited about our new box coming. So really excited about that. That's Farmer Boy by Laura Ingalls Wilder. So the next book that I'm going to share with you was also a book that I got to go along with another unit that we were doing. And this is a great example of how I tie in themes and topics with multiple ages. So I've shared many times that we are doing the Ready to Read program from Gather Round Homeschool with my 5-year-old. She'll be 6 next month. But we are currently on book 2, which is At the Pond. We're about halfway through at this point. And one of the books that I got to go along with that was more geared toward my 9 and 13-year-old at the time. And that is A Long Walk to Water. So this is a book that I've been wanting to read with them for a while. And it linked perfectly with At the Pond because this is a story of 2 young kids in Sudan, one of which walks very far each day to a pond to fetch water for her family. So I thought it was a great connection, age appropriate for my older 2 kids, but still one that my daughter could be around, that connects with how we're learning about the pond ecosystem. And this is a story about really how life-giving a pond can be, even for people in other parts of the world. So this is A Long Walk to Water. Now, can't wait to dive into this book, but one hesitation that I have about this that may cause me to push this off until fall is that we are doing our first boomerang guide from The Brave Writer. And if you don't know about the dart, arrow, and boomerang guides, they are literature guides that go along with books for different age groups, and they teach like the mechanics of literature and literary analysis through literature. And I am an English teacher. I teach 10th grade English along with homeschooling my own children. And I've never been a big fan of teaching skills in isolation. I like to teach skills more organically, like through a text. So we are loving our first experience with a boomerang. And boomerang is the older age group, so it's like 13, 14. So I got it so that it would be geared mostly toward my oldest. But there is an arrow guide for A Long Walk to Water. And so I'll talk about this more in my 5th grade curriculum picks video, but I think I'm going to maybe hold off on this and have it be a book that my 10-year-old does for 5th grade, unless I decide throughout the summer that he could use a little bit more than what we've already planned. Now, if you didn't see my video on Monday, that is when I talked about our summer homeschool plans. And so you can go back and watch that. I still feel the same way. It was just a few days ago, but I will kind of have this in my back pocket if I feel like he could use a little bit more. If he's getting bored, if it's a rainy day, if he shows interest, because his brother will be doing a book study that has actual work that goes along with it and not just summer reading. So I'll share that with you next. So we may or may not get to this in the summer, but we will read this either way. If not the summer, definitely the fall, and that's A Long Walk to Water. So I shared about this in my curriculum unboxing for my first order from The Good and the Beautiful a couple of weeks ago. My 13-year-old will technically be a 9th grader next year, although he is a young 9th grader because he doesn't turn 14 until November. And he's never used The Good and the Beautiful. So what we decided for him was that we would get him one of the level 8 book studies. So he hadn't used The Good and the Beautiful before. This first year homeschooling, he had not done an independent language arts program. We did language arts through our Gather Round homeschool units, which we absolutely love. But we thought it would be a great idea if for one of his summer reading books, he did one of the ones from the level 8 book studies. And this would give him a taste into what The Good and the Beautiful is like. And then also, if it's super challenging, that might give us some insight into how he may do with the high school 1 language arts curriculum. So I did get the actual book study for him. You don't have to, you can just get the book. This is Wild Like the Foxes. And this is about an Inuit child who lost her mother and grew up with only the influence of her father and her older brother, and how she became an excellent hunter, fisher, trapper. This sounds really, really exciting because we watched a documentary back in the fall that I highly recommend, The Eagle Huntress, and it sounds very similar. So he's really excited to read this. And when my 10-year-old saw this, or my almost 10-year-old saw this, he was like, ooh, can I read that too? So he might read this as well. So you can just get the book, but we decided to go with the book study to just kind of get him ready for that high school language arts that he'll be starting in the fall. So that is Wild Like the Foxes. So that's kind of why I was like, well, maybe I should have Jackson do a book study as well and do his with the Brave Writer Arrow Guide. So we may do that. We'll kind of see how it goes. I don't feel like I have to do that because I don't feel he needs as much because he's not making that jump to high school, but we'll see. So next up, I already shared these in that same video, the curriculum unboxing from The Good and the Beautiful, but they will all be doing, all 3 of my oldest kids will be doing the summer reading challenge from The Good and the Beautiful. So they have a surprise book for kindergarten through 3rd grade. So that's for my daughter, who will be a 1st grader next year. They have one for 4 through 6. And so that is for my upcoming 6th grader, and then 7 through 12, and that is for my upcoming 9th grader. So I'm really excited. They also have on the inside, I feel like if you haven't seen this yet, it's really great. It's like a little bit of a reading log on the inside so they can track their reading. There's a bookmark and a little letter to them as well. So I think I'll probably give these to them first as a way to sort of like kick off the summer and our summer reading when we do like a little end of the year celebration. So this will be like a little surprise for them where they get to open it up and see what their book is, and maybe I'll have them start with this one. Okay, so I feel like that was already a lot of books, but I'm not stressing it because whatever we don't get to is totally fine. The last thing that I want to share with you guys is not really a book, but it will be part of our summer reading. So I just figured I would share it with you. And that is the subscriptions that we get regularly. So what I haven't talked about much is the books that my 5-year-old, 2-year-old, and 1-year-old will be reading. To be honest, they'll probably be reading whatever's around, right? But I wanted to share with you some of my favorites that they really love. The first one is these Hello books from Highlights. And these are perfect for 1, 2, 3-year-olds because first of all, you can't rip them because they're coded. So I like that about them. And they just have like simple themes. This one is an issue all about feelings. And so they're really, really sweet little books. There's a mix of actual photographs and cartoons. There's little find it, so intro to the hidden pictures that are in the high fives and the highlights. There is poetry. There are little stories, so simple stories. And we really love these. So these come once a month. This one, an issue all about feelings. To give you another example, this one's an issue all about the farm. This one is an issue all about summer. So I save these because why not, like, reuse them or pull them out when I'm doing something thematically with our learning shelves in the playroom. I use these a lot for that, to kind of drive the theme. So that is one thing that my 1 and 2-year-old will be doing throughout the summer. I'll be reading these to them a lot, and I like for them to be able to just play with them and look at them themselves. They really like to do that. Along those same lines, we also get High Five for my daughter Gia, and these are actually sent to us by my in-laws. So my in-laws do the subscription to Hello and High Five for them, and I absolutely love them for that because I did highlights when I was a kid, so they've been around for a long time. I absolutely love these. High Five is perfect for Gia's age group. Again, there are stories. There are like what's silly in this picture. This one is like a little book that they can make. They can cut out and make it. So really, really fun. They love getting these in the mail and they love reading them. And so this is something we'll definitely be using in the summer as well. Another subscription that we get sent to us by another one of their grandmothers is Ranger Rick Jr. And so I love this one because it's all about animals and science. And this is another one that they'll be reading throughout the summer. This is another one that another one of their grandmothers has sent to the house, and this is Birds and Blooms, and it is all about birds and flowers, and it has breathtaking photographs of birds and flowers and so many interesting facts. My kids really enjoy these. We did North American Birds as our first homeschool unit ever with Gather on Homeschool, and we've been like bird lovers ever since. So that's another thing that they'll use to read throughout the summer. Last two are the only subscriptions that I actually subscribe to for them, and that is National Geographic and Nat Geo Kids. So these are both more reading that the kids will read throughout this summer, especially the ones that like the last few they haven't really gotten to yet. So we'll dig into these over the summer. That is all I have for you guys. That is kind of what I have planned. I am not stressing it if we do not get to half of those books because we were having way too much fun this summer. I am totally at peace with that, but this is our plan for right now. This is what I have at the ready for us to get into a good groove with summer reading. I hope maybe you found some titles in here that you could read with your family or provide as independent reading options for your children. I will link The Good and the Beautiful and Brave Writer as well. If you are not already subscribed, I would love if you subscribe. I have plenty other videos coming out. Next week, I am sharing with you guys all of my curriculum picks so far for the 2021-2022 school year. And I will have a first grader, a fifth grader, a ninth grader, and a almost 3-year-old. He turns 3 in October that I'll be doing some tot school with them, and I'll also be sharing with you guys family subjects. So lots of fun stuff coming up. Click that notifications bell so that you know when a new video comes out. Let me know in the comments below if there's a book that I just absolutely have to add to this list, or if there are any that you have read. Give me some feedback and let me know. Like, is there one we just have to start with? Hopefully I see you in my next video, and until next time, stay rooted.